right, Oval fans. Now, this to me is one of the most divisive parts of this week's episode, Eye on the Sparrow. And I had to do some digging, but the name of the cult member that burst into Nancy's house looking for refuge was Tally. I don't know if they said in the actual episode, and I missed it, but I checked on IMDb, and the name of the character is Tally. So I'm asking the question of, if you were Nancy, what would you have done in that situation? Let's recap here. At the end of episode 1, that's when Ruth called in her cult members to come in and abduct Callie. Tally was one of those cult members because Nancy immediately recognized her on the spot. So one of the people responsible for your grandchild being abducted burst into your home on a second occasion. For the second time, Tally has broken into Nancy's home. She is roughed up. She's claiming that the cult members want her life because she tried to escape them. And she came to Nancy's house looking for refuge because, based on stories that Ruth have told her about how nice Miss Nancy is, she would help out a person if they needed it. So Nancy, and I was going to do the same thing. She would have called the cops, but she's told not to because some of the cops are actually members of the cult. So if you call them, that will just make things even more complicated. Now, let me just put it this way. I get it from a Christian's perspective. And this was like, I was not even thinking about calling Nancy a hypocrite, because I know if Hannah on the Haves and the Have-Nots did that, a lot of people would be like, oh, Miss Hannah talking about the Bible and God and talking down to people when they, aren't acting Christian like, but then she's in a situation where she could be a good Samaritan, but she doesn't want to help somebody, then she's a bad person. Nah, I don't feel this way about Nancy at all in this particular moment, because this is someone who has broken into your house twice, taken one of your family members, and now is coming to you for help. Yeah, I would have called the cops too. Now, you could also argue that, well, Tally didn't want Nancy to call the cops, because if she called the cops, then yeah, they would obviously come and take Tally away, but she would be more vulnerable, and the cult would take her back because some of the police members are involved in the cult itself. So her telling Nancy not to call the cops was self-preservation. That had nothing to do with Nancy. You could also make the argument that, well, helping out Tally means getting important intel in order to save Callie. But Nancy doesn't owe Tally a damn thing. Tell me if I'm wrong. Like, I know it's easy to say, well, you're not in that situation. How can you say that? But what would you do if let's say, heaven forbid, this situation, but let's say you have a child and you are pumping gas at the store, whatever the situation is. Let's say you are at the gas tank, or if you have to go in, it's like you pull up to the gas station, you're at the gas tank, and you're at the gas tank about to fill up, but then, oh snap, there's a sign on the thing that says you have to go inside and pay. Your baby's sitting in the back seat, asleep or whatever, and you're parked right next to the door. So it's like, okay, let me just run in, put 20 on 5, and then come back. So you do that. By the time you get from the store counter to the front door to get out of the store, you see somebody hop into your car and drive off with your child in the back. And then next thing you know, that same person, like 2 days later, your child is still missing in your car, burst into your home saying that they need help because somebody's trying to kill them. What would you do? What would you do? So you can make the argument that by helping Tally, they can find Callie. Why do these names always rhyme? It's like on Sisters, Aaron, Karen. Now you got Tally, Callie. Now, it's interesting because Nancy is the one who's acting like most people would act in that situation, but Sharon is the one who's being very understanding of the situation. It's very odd if you ask me. Like, like Sharon's the one like, hang on, she needs help, Miss Nancy, and hang on, you sit down. Are you hungry? Let me get you some food. It's difficult. I'm just saying, I would probably be the Nancy in that situation. I definitely wouldn't be the Sharon in that situation. Like, I don't know. I really don't know. So let's just move forward. While Sharon's trying to calm the situation down, and to be honest, staying calm in that situation is the best bet, because somebody rushing into your house like that, bloodied and whatnot. In my mind, my biggest concern is my own self-preservation. Is like, you're a member of a cult that knows where I live. Y'all have burst into my house before unannounced, and now you're coming here because you want to leave the cult, and you say the cult wants to kill you. So for all I know, you are probably leading some of them cult members back to my house, and because I'm seen with you, they might think that I'm trying to help protect you, which might lead to my life being taken. What the hell are you doing in my house? But then she says that, oh, the cult, they wouldn't come, they'd never come and find me here. So your presence here is putting my own well-being in danger. Like the last time when I was held down by those cult members and I had that knife. But they took the knife. Remember, why didn't the knife come up? Remember the knife that was taken away that she suspects Barry used to kill Ruth and stab her, even though the cult members took the knife? How come that ain't come up? Maybe next week. But after things kind of simmer down, Sharon talks with Tally and finds out that, the cult never stays in one place. They're always on the move. They pick up recruits at bus stops, rehab centers. The highest one is someone named, as Nancy put it, hang on, I got it in my notes here. Tyrone Luckett, who's a con artist, been out of jail multiple times, but Tally's like, oh, he says all that stuff on the internet's fake and the government's after him. And he's like, that's bull crap. And the cult obviously goes after those who are easily to manipulate. And she says all the kids and everything are on these buses, so they're always moving from place to place. Her own daughter's with the cult, and she up and left the cult and her daughter. So we also find out that one of the latest places that the cult was some kind of center. I couldn't make out what Tally was saying. All I heard was a center that's on Hollins near the strip mall, which is near Kareem's pharmacy where Sharon works. But she's like, well, yeah, we're not allowed to get dressed into our cult, wardrobe until we're actually inside the building. The only people who are allowed to be in their attire are like the higher ups, like the highest one and whatnot. So that explains how they're hiding in plain sight. And Sharon's like, are you sure they're gone? So Sharon might go her own private investigation, if you will, but hopefully she doesn't get into a situation where she gets caught or something like that. But all we know is that Tally has left her own child there. She's looking for refuge, and that's about it. She's trying to hide out. So I guess the biggest question is, and we obviously will get follow up in the next episode, because if Barry gets home and sees this member, it is not going. This is one of those situations where I don't mind Barry raising some hell, because I'd be pissed off too. So, what do you think? Or no, excuse me. What would you do? Would you help Tally? Would you call the cops? Would you kick it to the curb? The most sensible part of this situation is if I turn over Tally to the cops, and some of them are crooked and working with the cult, then Tally's going to be killed. By killing her, that's a possible lead to finding my granddaughter that has been cut loose. So it's good that Sharon was keeping a cool head in the situation, but at the same time, Sharon wasn't the one that was swarmed in on by cult members and held down while her granddaughter was taken. So Nancy was completely justified in how she was acting. Let me just put it that way. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How would you have handled the situation? And also, we are less than 700. We're about about 750 people away from 100,000 subscribers. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, comment your thoughts, subscribe so we can finally hit 100K and move on to the next big thing. I can't wait to hit that number, guys. We should be hitting it around this time next week, Lord willing. Hopefully before that. I've done a few other old videos. I did a sisters video, and I'm talking about things that aren't the episode reviews. I gave this episode a 7.5 out of 10. Eye on the Sparrow. It had its weak points, but I go into that in the episode review itself. But let me know what's your favorite storyline from the Oval so far. How do you think things will go with Callie? Do you think they'll be able to find her? What did they didn't say what they do with the kids? Not honestly, I don't even think I want to know what they do with the kids. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, and I will talk to you all in the next video.